What's up YouTube, welcome back to another video on this channel, and today we have the Ducati Scrambler Icon. So one of the most selling iconic motorcycle across the world from the Ducati fleet, and one of the less selling in India. To be honest, I was so amazed to ride this motorcycle after taking this, because I thought this is just a smaller motorcycle, a entry level motorcycle to the Ducati fleet, and then finally got to know that it's not just an entry point to Ducati. This can do a lot many things than I expected. So yes, let's get into the review. Basically, I've ridden this motorcycle for a long tour, something around 800 kilometers, and I've ridden this motorcycle inside city and some amount of off-roading. So before I get into the meat of the review, let me just tell you this motorcycle is kind of an all-rounder motorcycle. Do anything but with no show off, absolutely no show off. You look at the motorcycle, it's a very small motorcycle. Probably you can compare the size of this motorcycle with a scooter. So this is that small, and it looks so nice as well. So what you see from the front is that headlight section, and which is halogen, as well as all the lights are halogen, which personally I feel it's not a downside if you're an addict of LED lights, but it looks very neat for the motorcycle. And a slightly long travel suspension, and bigger wheels in the front, and there is a raised handlebar, that offset type of speedometer dial things, and the Ducati Scrambler tank. The tank is actually a little smaller, because when I went for the long ride, I keep stopping for fueling it up. And here is the L-twin, the 800cc L-twin, which produces massive amount of power and torque, and that too with this kind of a setup. That means a very lightweight setup. That's a raging engine, and there we will see the exposed pipes, that too much, and it's an air-cooled engine, so we have to be very careful while riding it in the city, because it heats a lot. And coming into the tail section, what a beautiful motorcycle, because I felt this view is much more beautiful than the view from the front. This is a personal feel, because you look at that beefy tire, the tail light, and the Ducati emblem. Everything looks so nice, and the seat is actually very comfortable as well. Even though this looks like a smaller seat, this is actually a touring kind of a seat. It doesn't have too much of seat height as well. I can show that to you. You see that planted foot on both sides. Even a 5.5 or 5.4 guy will be much comfortable on this motorcycle, but someone who is beyond 5.7 or 5.8 will be having a little bit of trouble in having a cramped knee or something. And this paint scheme is not the stock paint scheme. This is only after mod that has been done on this motorcycle. This actually comes with that kind of a Ferrari red, which is actually the signature color for the Ducati. The color has been changed on this one, and we have a very wider and a raised handlebar setup, which feels a lot confident while riding. And here we have the offset speedometer. Let me turn it on. So this one is not the very latest one. The latest one will get a little more different dial, in the sense a little more features. This one doesn't have a fuel meter or any riding modes and all. The current version, the 2022 version, has riding modes and fuel level indicator there, but the engine feel, everything is all same, no difference. The riding stance is so nice and commanding. Even when you're sitting, you get that commanding riding posture, and it is easy to steer as well. You see that? Let me just turn on this L-twin and make you hear the exhaust sound. This might not be the most soothing sound that you'll hear from a Ducati. This is not for the sound, basically this is for the purpose. Anyway, let me just turn it on. That raging bull kind of a feel is always there with the engine. So without wasting much time, let's go for a ride. So finally we are back on highway again. So as I mentioned, it's a very low seat height, but this motorcycle has got a good ground clearance. That's a kind of very strange combination, because you don't get to see that in every motorcycle, because when you compromise on the seat height, your ground clearance will get fucked up. And we have some dirt over here. Sliding the rear wheel, man. It's a dust cloud over there. I can see that in the rear view mirror. So yeah, let's start with the engine, which just created that dust cloud over there. So it's an L-twin. The positives is you have enough of power to make you happy. What I personally feel is that if you have ridden the single cylinders, I don't even feel that I'm riding a KTM Adventure 390. I feel this is much lighter than that. But obviously, if you fall from this motorcycle, you can start feeling the weight. Otherwise, to ride this, I'll rate this between X-Pulse and a Himalayan. That's the kind of confidence I'm getting. You don't feel like you're riding a motorcycle. It's just like a highly powerful cycle, that's all. So the positives on the engine is you have got a decent amount of torque and good power. This motorcycle can do a 200. It does a 180 in no time, you'll get it. and it can go to 200 or 220. That's the top speed which I heard from the owner, but I haven't done anything like that. I was doing a 140 to 180 on the highways. It's kind of a street motorcycle, a naked motorcycle, and secondly it has a taller handlebar, so you're actually keeping your hands taller. So one problem with it is that you're actually exposing your chest too much. You'll have a lot of wind blast on this. So I personally feel you can cruise on the motorcycle at 120, and when you just wanted to give a blast, give a push like that. And the same engine actually does pretty well inside city as well. I'm not talking about bumper to bumper traffic. When I was doing bumper to bumper traffic, I was just hating myself for wearing a trousers at the first, and secondly pushing a Ducati to that kind of a level, because obviously it's a Ducati, it's an air-cooled engine. That one cylinder which actually sits towards us is not at all cooled properly, so we have to be very careful with that. But otherwise the engine is not at all choppy. It gives a very linear throttle response, even though this doesn't have any riding modes. So very nice and neat throttle response. There is a minor lag at 2k RPM, but you'll never face it, because you know, once you're actually rolling, you'll be always rolling in 3k or 4k. Otherwise it's like super linear. Very nice to use inside city as well, because it is not at all choppy. It's very predictable, and overtaking is just a piece of cake, be it on highway or inside city. You imagine it, you can do that. That's the kind of power this has. And when it goes for off-roading, the engine actually is nice. What I'll say is that you can have a lot of fun doing race slides and all. Let's overtake this. This motorcycle actually gives the same feel of a rail-wheel drive car. So you get that push from the back. You can feel that. So that's the feedback from the engine. And the negative part is just heating. It is there. You have to be a bit careful if you are running in bumper to bumper traffic. But if you are off-roading or if you are running on the highway, then it's absolutely fine. And coming to the ergonomics, it has this taller handlebar. You can see that. First I thought it's a aftermarket handlebar. It's a stock handlebar, and this gives a very different riding feel. Even when you're standing, this handlebar is enough for you. A person like me has good reach to the handlebar, and this is wide as well, so a commanding riding posture and much relaxed. The seat is very, very, very comfortable. By the way, this motorcycle has done 34,000 kilometers by now, and almost 30,000 kilometers done with pillion, that too for touring. So you can understand that, right? So it is not a compromised touring at all. It was much comfortable touring. And when it comes to the other things like the suspension, so the suspension is actually non-adjustable in the front. My personal take is the suspension is slightly onto a stiffer side, but I feel happy about that, because when I rode this motorcycle for touring and I reached the guard section, this was acting like a missile, because the harder suspension actually gave me a lot of confidence over the corners. So it's a corner grabbing machine as well. You get that. It can do off-roading, it can do cornering, so that's kind of a peculiar kind of a motorcycle. This is not too hard and all, you can see that. I'm much comfortable, but what I'm saying is, compared to a Triumph Street Twin and all, this is a little harder, that's all. And coming to the brakes, I have no words to say about that, because it comes with Brembo, and whatever speeds this motorcycle can go, the brake will be able to bring this down without any efforts, and it's much confident, and there is not too much dive from the suspension. You know, if I do this, you see that there is no too much of dive, or bike is going unstable and all, nothing like that. It's absolutely fine. There is nobody behind me, that's why I'm doing this. The suspension is actually supporting the brake in a very good manner. And when it comes to city riding, the seat height won't be a problem for any kind of riders. You'll be much happy with it. And the ground clearance, that is too nice, because till now I haven't had any issues with the potholes or the speed breakers inside city. Now look at the pricing of the motorcycle. So this motorcycle actually comes for around 11 lakhs on road now. So one of the main reasons why I took this motorcycle for a review is because this is much underrated. Believe me, this is not a paid review or anything. I don't get anything doing a favor to Ducati on this, because I feel like good motorcycles should be celebrated. Some people actually stay away from this motorcycle, saying that this doesn't have its road presence because it doesn't look big, it doesn't make good sound like an inline 4. Maybe I'll go for a Ninja 1000 or something. It's okay. I mean, if your taste is Ninja 1000, it is okay. But if you have a character of a no-nonsense guy, like you don't really care about what others think about you, and your plans are instant. You wanted to go off-road, go. You want to go on a road tour, go. You want to go for a very, very long road tour, like from here to Himalayas, just go on this motorcycle. That's kind of an instant planner. So if you have that kind of a character, consider this motorcycle, man. You will definitely like it. If you're not like that, if you wanted to pose on the motorcycle and all, still consider this motorcycle, because this motorcycle looks good in my eyes. But if you are someone who's tall as well as a little chubby as well, probably you might feel a little cramped on the motorcycle. Otherwise, I'll say that the 11 lakhs price tag on this is justifiable. And of course, as I mentioned, this is not a paid review or anything. I'm just talking about whatever I feel like. And the second thing is the maintenance when it comes to the ownership. So the motorcycle actually has to be serviced once in 12,000 kilometers, and every alternate service is the Desmo service, which is the most celebrated abstract of the motorcycle industry. I don't know why many people are afraid of going and buying a Ducati just because of Desmo service. So Desmo service is expensive, but understand what is Desmo service. So basically, Desmo service means they will check everything over the engine and they'll give you a new engine, the brand new engine, whatever you got out of the showroom. So during the Desmo service, they'll do the general engine oil change and the filter change or the filter cleanup, whatever you want. And upon that, they'll do the wall clearance checking. And this motorcycle has 8 shims. So these shims will be checked, and if it has to be replaced, it will get replaced. That's all. So it's up to you. So this motorcycle has ran 34,000 kilometers, and this has already done one Desmo at 24. So it wasn't that pocket tearing, but yes, it was costing some 26,000 or 27,000, which is still expensive. But some people think that for Desmo service and all, you have to take a loan and pay 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees. That's not true. 1 lakh rupees and all, it's an absurd amount. It depends on how you manage the motorcycle, but if you mismanage your motorcycle and if you are brutally abuse the motorcycle, then probably you have to change all the shims. And I don't think you have to pay a 1 to 2 lakh amount. I am not sure about that, but definitely I don't think so. So this motorcycle didn't had any problem with the shims, so that's okay. So just to give you a gist of the thing, when I was riding my Honda CBR2 PR, I was actually riding that motorcycle for pretty much on the edge. So I do the rev all the time and all. And I was quite changing the shims once in 18,000 kilometers or something. It's quite common to change the shim as well. It's not a crime also. So that's a Desmo service, and a general service will cost something like 8,000, 12,000, which is like any other super bike. So don't get carried away with some very famous reviews on the YouTube or negative reviews saying that the Desmo service is something really bad for your motorcycle. Not like that. It is just that it makes sure that the engine will run for a very long time, and especially these motorcycles are actually made in Italy and made for Italy. Our conditions are too different. We have a hotter, humid, dusty condition, which is not so good, because there the motorcycles are running dry, and there the temperature is sometimes like -20. They'll tell that their hottest temperature is around 15 degrees Celsius. I mean, 15 degrees Celsius is the hill station temperature here. What the fuck? Imagine riding the motorcycle in these kind of highways. During summers, this highway will be freaking hot, sometimes even 40 degrees Celsius. I know that even 40 degrees is also not so hot. At times I've heard that towards the north and all, it comes to 45 and all. So this motorcycle is actually not meant for this side of the world. You have to maintain your motorcycle for a longer run, so obviously you have to spend a lot, or otherwise you can move to Italy and have fun, man. If you're moving to Italy, you have many number of options, but I'm just saying, yeah, being in India, our super bikes are not actually designed for Indian climatic conditions, so we have to do the maintenance quite often. And when it comes to the mileage part of the motorcycle, I've checked multiple times on this. The worst mileage which I got is 18 km per liter when I was riding inside city, and neutral mileage which I got on the highway is 22 km, that too not one time, couple of times, while riding from a speed of 120 to 150 km. And the best mileage which I got on the highway is 27 km per liter when I was riding just about 100 to 120 km. So I was actually surprised to see that mileage. So that means it's a good touring bike, but the only thing is this has a very puny tank. It's around 8 liters of usable fuel and the 4 liters are reserve. And this particular motorcycle doesn't comes with a fuel level indicator. I think new variant will be having a TFT dash, and it has a lot many information. So yes, but still the fuel tank is all same. So the tank range is much lesser, and this actually runs faster, so you have to run from one fuel station to another fuel station. That's how. So let's come to the verdict. Who will fit onto the motorcycle? As I mentioned, if you're a no-nonsense guy, you just need a motorcycle, an instant planner, go for it, you'll be happy. Or if you want a touring motorcycle, go for this, because this is unlike the inline 4. The inline 4 actually you'll get it when you bring it out. So this one is actually very ideal for our situation. Just imagine this kind of a congested highway, and I can do this all the time. You see that it just requires the 5th and the 6th gear. You get enormous amount of power out of it. These congested highways are actually much more fun to ride with this motorcycle. On inline 4 it is actually a little cumbersome, especially if you don't have a up and down quick shifter. And yes, of course, if you're looking for a very off-road centric motorcycle, go for the Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled. That is actually, I'll say that is 70% off-road and 30% on-road performance. This one is 50-50, because this can do equal good performance on the road and off the road. And I really love this motorcycle, taking it on the highway and off-roads and all, because I'm actually a very smaller guy. Even though I like bigger motorcycle, I really love this motorcycle for the fact that it's much nimble and it's like a pocket rocket. That pocket rocket feel actually makes sense for this motorcycle. It's not a pocket rocket, it's a pocket bomb. And if you're looking from a 300 to 600cc, you'll find a lot of entertainment on this. But if you're coming down from a 1000cc, probably because of two reasons. One is you don't want a heavier motorcycle, that's why you're coming down to this, or you want a more off-road centric motorcycle. That can be a reason as well. So if you're looking for off-road centric, go for Desert Strell. Or coming down, if you're looking for a lighter motorcycle, you definitely enjoy it, because after riding a Ducati Multistrada or a BMW 1250 and all, this is just a piece of cake, and with ample amount of power. That's all. So that's my review on the Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled. I hope you like this video, and as always, show some love in the form of likes and comments. See you in the next video. Until then, bye bye. Oh damn, no traction control. I can feel it in the rear wheel. Yeah, bye bye. See you.